Hello everybody, and welcome back. This time around we're taking a look at another mod for World of Warcraft. This mod is a mod that I made for a role-playing server, and it never really materialized because I never really finished, and the role-playing server also had a couple of issues, so it's just in my vault. So as you can see, it's a high elven land that I've created, and the starting off point for it is, of course, this type of world tree thing that you've been looking at with the portal, very similar to the one that's present in most world trees, but it uses, of course, sort of the high elven magical Eversong tree model, which is slightly modified. Certain things have been inserted to make it look a little bit more complex. Now, this is set in an empty area of the Arathi Highlands, and as you can see, a lot of the mountains were redecorated with waterfalls, trees, some of the sort of rock formations. I can't really remember the name right now, but the sort of Stonehenge-like rocks that are present there. And we sort of, the idea here was to try and match as much as we could of Eversong Forest. Now, the issue is, of course, it's not finished. It's not a finished area, so we've got some very rough strokes, but the texturing, I was sort of happy with the texturing of the ground, the placement of the trees, the actual paths, and sculpting in it. It was a sort of a learning exercise in trying to match Blizzard's style. Now, without the grass, it looks a little bit barren, and so keep that in mind. But now we're going to go into the town itself, which isn't very big. This is meant to be a sort of a small town, not a huge city, but perhaps a small village. The lore behind it is that this was a high elven retreat that escaped what happened to Silvermoon and all of that, because it's on the outsides and in the mountains. Now here you can see this is currently a Blood Elf Lodge, which I still haven't modified, so it's sort of standing in, but the idea would be to modify it like the other buildings in order to use the blue motif of the High Elves instead of the red for the Blood Elves. And here we just have a little bit of work here with doodads and whatnot. And we also have these little mana pools, which have been more or less Blood Elf-ified, and it's a little bit of a mixture between Alliance and of course whatever the High Elf origin is. The town's pretty simple. A couple of houses. We're looking at one of this large structure is actually one of the gates from Quel'Thalas, but it's been modified in order to be this sort of big hall, and we can see some chandeliers and some curtains dropped, and of course a throne. Now, you can dress up this area however way you want it. Potentially it would be, or would serve the purpose sort of as the town hall of this area. I haven't bothered to go into these details because, like I said, this was a work in progress. But you know, I'm quite happy with where I got it, and hopefully maybe I'll go back to it at one point and actually finish up some of the detail work and release it. It's not a promise though. I'm pretty busy. But it's interesting to share these things. Now, what you're seeing here is, again, some of the empty, untextured land that continues past the point of, let's say, the starting area, then we have the small town, and then we have this empty area. And here we can just get a better look of the building from the other angle. Now, the idea of this area would be to create a forest, kind of like the parts in Quel'Thalas that are occupied by forest trolls. So the idea would be to create a forest, set some forest troll buildings, and if you're running your own role-playing server, you can spawn in forest troll mobs or make your own personalized quests, and that would essentially enable you to have an entire new starting area for your players, because it's actually pretty big, so there's room to fit in a little bit of elements, but that's a lot more work that I still haven't gone into, but it would have been my idea. Now, you can see why I sort of chose this area. It's because, first of all, it sort of breaks away from the main world, and it doesn't force you to actually modify the in-game lands, and at the same time, it also has the right environment, or the most appropriate environment, the most sort of, I guess, lore-friendly environment as well, to do this. So hopefully you've enjoyed taking a look at this. It was actually cool to make it, and it's actually cool to actually be able to walk around it and test it. But we'll see. Like I said, it was designed for role-playing servers. You can, if you ever got your hands on it, you could test it on any other private server or even on retail. I wouldn't recommend that because that would probably lead you to being banned. But it works. At least in so much as what you can actually see right now. So hopefully I'll come back. I have a couple of other projects that are like this still. And hopefully I'll come back and we'll take a look at these other little projects that are standing by. So until then, everybody, take it easy.